I don't need to spend a long time in this video. Well, I need to take a little bit of time. Get that tilt out of there. I want you to see that. There was a time when my dream job was to be a rodeo clown. I used to enjoy breaking into the stables at night with my friend David and Jamie occasionally, maybe a couple others, and ride the horses bareback. I'm sure that they would throw us like that because it was at night. They wanted to sleep. They were kind of freaked out that these creatures were jumping on their backs in the dark. But it was fun. We did things like that. You know, drink a few beers with the guys and then let's jump on some horses, freak them out, and get thrown off. That's what we did. That's guy stuff. If you're a woman watching this, you know, you might not appreciate it, but that's what guys do. They drink beer and jump on horses at night and get thrown off and laugh. Remember one time, one event, I jumped on the back of old 97, which was a surly horse. He threw me hard. And I decided I was going to jump on the back of a Shetland pony. Thinking, that little horse isn't going to do any damage. Well, that thing took off like a rocket, stopped dead right in front of the wall, and threw me into it. And I think I heard him laughing. Again, wanted to be a rodeo clown. Until. Now, I wonder about some people. I know myself pretty well. But I had David again, one of the co-conspirators in the horse episodes. He would ride on the back of my motorcycle, a Honda XL 125, which I had more fun on that motorcycle than any others. Bigger, more powerful, faster. That Honda XL 125, man, we had fun. This is in Glen Haven, Colorado, Estes Park area. I used to explore all these mountain roads. And it's true that a Honda XL 25 is not that powerful. It's fast downhill and very slow uphill. Well, one day, Dave and I decided to go exploring. And we were this random mountain somewhere on this logging road. And we wound up having to ride through a herd of longhorn cattle. Longhorn cattle, the males, possibly the females, we were occupied, so I wasn't really checking which ones are chasing us and trying to kill us the most. But we were surrounded. Now I remember these huge bulls on either side of the motorcycle chasing us down this road. And the horns, if you've ever seen the longhorn cattle close up and personal, which, like, at the distance of the teepee walls here, they're fearsome. They're pretty darn impressive. They are kings of the forest or the mountains. Some say grizzly bears, but at that time I would give those longhorn bulls that title. The issue was that we passed through and we had to go back through them. They were waiting for us. They were just on that road, you know, watching and waiting for us to come back down. They're not stupid. And so this is where I wonder, you know, it's not necessary that I know the answer, but was David insane, foolish, or really brave to ride on the motorcycle with me and follow this plan I had? David, we got to ride back through that herd of longhorn cattle. And so how about this? Gather as many rocks as you can carry in your little kangaroo pouch of a t-shirt. And we didn't have helmets on either. I should add that, a little bit of spice to this stew. And sit on the motorcycle backwards. And when the longhorns come for us, hit them in the face. Maybe you're going to steer them away. Okay. Yeah, right. I wouldn't do that now. I'd say I'm going to walk around that way. You distract them and I'll get on the motorcycle at the bottom of the hill. Dave, he did that. What a trooper. I could tell you some other stories, motorcycle stories, where we were stupid and had guardian angels, but this one is enough. And so there we go, speeding down the hill. David on the motorcycle backwards, not able to hang on. I don't even know how he stayed on that thing. Throwing rocks into the faces of the longhorns when they got close. And we made it. From that day forward, I decided I did not want to be a rodeo clown. Now, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China and this drum sitting here? Well, this is a cowhide drum. Now, many of you, when I say I made my drum out of cowhide, actually a big bull, and I've got his skull down at the fire circle, painted black. You might say that you should have an elk hide, you should have a bison hide, you should have a deer hide on it. Cows are pedestrian. I think of that ad, happy cows. Happy cows live in California. Well, there was a time, just like those longhorns, that bovines were the kings of the forest. They had to come from somewhere. Modern livestock came from these beasts known as aurochs. The last one died in a forest in Poland in the 1600s. Don't quote me on this, 1625, but in the 1600s. These primitive cattle, the original cattle, the ancestors to Bessie the cow, were aurochs. And aurochs truly were the kings of the forest. They had respect. When you think of cows as a modern human, you're going to think of a McDonald's hamburger or a steak, what have you, that docile animal walking through the pasture, a clown riding on the back. But the original ones were truly fearsome. They were tough. They were the kings of the forest. In fact, there is a rune, if you're into such things, that refers to these. The aurochs, masculinity, toughness, strength, bravery. There's a lot of things that go along with that. Bovine, aurochs, ancestors to the modern cows. And I'm going to give credit to bulls. You watch rodeos, you've been in the presence of a bull. Sometimes they're untamable unless you castrate them. They still, just like the cottontail rabbits I learned before, they still contain the seed of those original beasts. The creature that gave me the hide, which I've got the rest of it in here, gave me this drum. I don't feel the need to paint this. The hide speaks enough. Now, if you look at the back, the lacing pattern, it's really unfortunate that the microphone on that phone that I'm recording this with cannot pick up the tones, the reverberations, the depth of the voice of this. You're not hearing it. Probably it's going to sound like just a dull thud, but believe me, inside here it's not a dull thud, and this thing makes the teepee rock. I can hear sympathetic vibrations within the teepee from this drum. Now, it doesn't have the same pattern on the back as a lot of drums you'll see. They usually have the lacing going from the hide, reaching a point before the center, and then wrapped. And so it looks almost like a tree. In fact, some people that make drums will create a tree in here. Now, I didn't do that. I just have a basic weave, because this is deer rawhide and this is cow rawhide. I wanted to make sure it was as strong as possible, so I had to have it straight through here and couldn't risk wrapping it. But a happy circumstance happened. Is I was just kind of pounding on it last night, and again, there's no way that you can hear even a fraction of this voice. This has a deep, when I pound on this side, a deeper, more ethereal sound. The vibrations last longer. It's very resonant, and it's still vibrating, opposed to, this has two voices. And I can hear this whole thing, like the sympathetic vibrations going on. This has an incredible voice. You can't hear it. You cannot hear it. Wonderful drum. Anyway, that is about it. Oak rim, and let me tell you, getting 16 miter cuts to fit cleanly on an octagonal frame is quite a trick. I got close. set them on the bench. There was a little gap, so I went through and marked on each end, just one end, a little circle. I wound up sanding off, and then ran just one side through, because I had to fine tune it. I had to get it just to the right angle, and ran those sides through, and then arranged it so the circles that I drew on each end were oriented so they weren't touching, and it worked out well. Now to clamp this together, let's get into some techniques here. I took clothesline, actually this thing back here, which is somewhat kind of bungee cord like, or bungee cord like. Tied a loop into it, wrapped it around, and then cinched it, and then carefully kept going around and around. And the stretchiness of the clothesline acted like a really, really nice clamping system. The glue, not too primitive. I use Gorilla Glue. I like that expanding urethane, so it soaks into the end grain, hardens, and then soaks. It's an amazing substance, and that held it. Used Helmsman Spar urethane. I didn't wax the edges. I probably should have with beeswax, but I didn't. It worked out. Soak the hide. How long do you soak a cowhide? Well, only about 4 hours in warm, soapy water, along with the rawhide. Now a trick is, the cowhide is so much thicker and stronger when it dries than the deer rawhide. But this is the tricky part of it. The deer rawhide will dry first and become strong, and then the cowhide will follow. It took 3 days for the cow rawhide to dry. It took a fraction of the time for the deer. So this was already strong before this was finishing up. Now I would have, in retrospect, I would have made these edges longer, so I would have a definite bend here on this edge and then a definite bend here to give it more strength, because the edges act as clamping systems. And I was a little bit cheap on length here. I could have easily just made them longer. I would have had the edges come in here quite a bit further, maybe a couple inches, but that is that. Not going to paint the outside. I forgot if I already said that. I do have something painted on the inside of the rim. I like that hidden. I like the look of the rawhide. I don't know if I can improve this. All I can do is take away from it by dyeing a pattern, by painting something. I know what it is. It is what it is. It does not need to be painted. But with that, I will cut this video off. Have a good one. Thank you for watching. Ebadee, ebadee, that's all, folks.